Hey there, traders. It's the Bitcoin Beast talking at you. Uh, Today, I want to talk about my method of dollar cost averaging. I call it the dollar cost average beast mode strategy. And in order for me to really get the essence of it, I want to explain uh, my journey into the Bitcoin. Uh, I first learned about Bitcoin back in October of 2012. That's this first line. I put vertical lines in very important areas of where I was exposed to Bitcoin. That was my very first time. And Bitcoin was around, it was 12 bucks, I remember. And I was talking with my cousin, and he had been in it for a while. He was the cypherpunk. Uh, he was mining at the time, and I just didn't understand it. He was saying all the right things, digital gold for libertarians, and I'm kind of what I would call a left-leaning libertarian. I have a lot of liberal views, but I also have a lot of libertarian views on finance and things like that. So I'm kind of, I would say, a libertarian centrist is what I would go, and leaning a little bit to the left. And I was kind of looking at the Bernie Boy situation and MMT and things like that because I knew there was something wrong from 2008. That was when I first began studying money, and I was kind of going down the MMT wormhole. And then this was my cousin was telling me, hey, this is the way to go. And I just wasn't ready for it, quite honestly. I just wasn't ready to accept it. I still had some faith in the government. I have very little faith left in government anymore. And so I put in this second line. I, I was watching it and it dropped. And I was trading Forex at the time. And a drop from $12 down to 8. That's a big drop. That's a 40-50% drop. And I was like, and I was looking at it very short term. I had a very short term mentality. I was scalping Forex. I was learning about Forex, the foreign currency exchange markets. And I just didn't get it. And then, so I just kind of put it off to the side. I should have called my cousin, but I didn't. This would be an opportune time to buy the dip. That's how I color code this chart. And then I checked on it a couple weeks later, and it was up to $18. Went all the way up to $18 right here. This was the halving. The green line, that was the halving that occurred. That's how close I was learning about the halving. And then this line occurred here at the halving, and I was like, oh, interesting. But I kind of blew it off. I just didn't. It was internet money. I didn't have any use for it. I wasn't a computer geek, so I mean, and I didn't do drugs, didn't drink. I was a goody two shoes. Uh, so I just didn't get it. I just didn't get it. But then look what happened. Boom, 150 bucks, 10x over the course of 2 months. I missed out on the greatest opportunity in the world. And that's when my cousin, that's probably when he ran off to live on a houseboat around in the South Pacific. So there's another story behind that. I'll get to that one day. But let me expand this out a little bit more to continue on with my story. So moving right along, I didn't think much of it at that time. I'd heard it hit up to like $1,000. It hit $1,000. This is when it hit $1,000 a few. I heard about it on the news. I was like, I should check and see how my cousin's doing, and I never did. And then I found out he was done a lot of things since then. But I'll get to my cousin another video. And so moving right along, things it died down, and then Mount Gox happened, and that was the big crash. And I was like, well, I guess I was justified in not. I allowed myself to be justified. And this is when I should have been buying like crazy. You notice I marked these green candles. These are times, and the greener my chart gets, the more you should be dollar cost averaging. So, you know, now we're into the Bollinger Bands here, dipping down into these Bollinger Band webs. These are major dips where you should be, basically mortgaging your house. Michael Saylor said, "Mortgage your house" when it was way up here. No, don't take loans. Don't do any of that. This is the time to be thinking about those things when you're down low, not when you're up high. I'll continue to explain later on. So the cycle begins. So here's the cycle line. Start bringing the cycle line in. Continue to buy. You should be mortgaging your house, selling your kids, selling tables and chairs. This is the time to do that. Not when it's red, when it's green. Putting everything you can possibly into your Bitcoin anytime there's a dip. So now, here we go, back into the red. We're in the red Bollinger Bands. Things are going up. Buy the dip here, but not as crazy. You're not mortgaging your house. You're not doing things like that. That's silly. And now you have a red line here in the cycle. So that means we're getting ready to move into a major bull run. Once the red line, once this turns red, that means chill. Just buy the dips. Bam, boom. Here's the next halving right here. Moving up. Buy the dip. Buy the dip. Buy the dip. Buy the dip. So if you were dollar cost averaging, you would be just saving your dollars while it's doing this, and then plunging it in here anytime the chart turns green. That way your curve is going to be down here as opposed to up on the top, on the tops. So it's going to give you more sats. That's the whole idea behind it. So if you were saving like $10 a week, 10, 20, 30, 40, maybe $70, and then bam, you put your $70 in here. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe 12, bam, put it in here. And so on and so forth. So that's going to lower the average of your dollar cost average. That's what this is designed to do. That was the second halving here. This is when I first started taking a look at Bitcoin again after a long pause. And I almost bought right here. It's this wick went up to 17,000 right at the top of the wick. And I gave pause because there was a 3% fee on Coinbase at the time. And I was like, nah, this is not a good time to buy. And it wasn't. And obviously it wasn't, because that was almost at the very peak. And of course we crashed back down. And I was like, whew, dodged another bullet. Okay. So didn't think much about it. Moving along, fast forward. My buddy calls me up, says, hey, Bitcoin's crashing. China's banning it. I can't remember. It was either this peak here or this peak. I think it might have been this peak, but it could have been this peak as well. This was the China ban that happened. And I was like, oh, well, I guess, Bitcoin it's over. It's done. It's dead. And then, so I started studying at that point. That's what my friend was saying, that Bitcoin's dead. But I didn't think so, because this is when the futures market opened, was during this peak here. So I knew at that point that it was legitimized and that they were going to try to control it. And so what I should have been doing is buying the green candles, doing my dollar cost average. Not heavy yet. Now heavy. Now that we get into the Bollinger Bands. Now you start, this is where you start selling, especially if you go down below the Bollinger Band web. That's when you want to start selling the furniture. Not up here. No mortgage your house up here, like what Michael Saylor's going to do, and I'll show you that in a minute. And so we move along. Dollar cost average. So now my average would have been here. Lowering my dollar cost average on the lows, not on the highs. We move along. So this is when I began studying Bitcoin in earnest. And I also started, was kind of leaning towards Ethereum at this point, and because they were still proof of work at the time. And I was heavily into Ethereum, especially down in here. I had a lot of Ethereum, and some people might call it a mistake, but I decided when Ethereum decided to go away from proof of work to proof of stake, and I started studying proof of work, and I'll do that in another video, talk about proof of work and why it's superior. This is when I became a maxi down here. Well, not quite a maxi. I still had the dollars in my head, so I can't quite qualify it myself, because I had still planned on trading my fiat or my Bitcoin for dollars. And so I went in, I had a bunch of Bitcoin. And then I think I had a bunch of Ethereum too as well. And this is when you want to buy right here. See the cycle turn green. This is when you want to be selling the furniture, mortgaging your house, taking loans out against your Bitcoin, things like that. Don't do it at any other time. Then come back up. You come back up here. This was the BitConnect. This is when BitConnect happened. So we're moving right along. I think I traded at this point out. I thought I made a good trade. And then we kept moving along here. Took another big dump, nosedive here. This was in 2020. I believe I got a little bit scared. I think I got scared out of the market. Yeah, I did get scared out of the market. And I was back in dollars, and then I started buying again around here, just before the halving. And as you can see, I did really well. I took a loan out around here to buy a car. I needed a car. So I took a loan out somewhere in here. I can't remember exactly where, to buy a car. And then Bitcoin crashed, then came back up. No, it was here. Sorry, my bad. It was in here. It's where I took the loan out to buy the car. I had it, my liquidation point. At that time, I figured out Bitcoin was probably not going to go below 20,000 again. I understood hodling. I understood the concept of hodl. And that the hodlers are the line of last resort. We are the bottom. We won't sell no matter what. And of course, FTX artificially suppressed the price, and I got liquidated in that loan. So I lost some Bitcoin as a result of that. Got a car, lost the Bitcoin, plus I had some locked up in Celsius. I managed to get a lot of it out. I did better than most people did, but I lost a lot of money there. So that's why you haven't heard of me yet, is because of Celsius. So I began dollar cost averaging in earnest, working hard, putting all my money in. Down here at the bottom, I was also dollar cost averaging into some shit coins. I do that a little bit differently, but this is how anytime that here's our cycle line again. So this is when you start in earnest. The green cycle. That's when you start dollar cost averaging, selling your chairs, selling your children, whatever. And then here, boom, off we go again. Races. Bought the dip here. Still waiting today. Still waiting for the next dip. Hasn't happened yet. And remember last cycle there was 4 of them. The halving is next week. You think I'm selling Bitcoin? You're out of your frickin' mind. And that's dollar cost average beast mode. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.